Welcome to this very special edition of Arizona Opera UnMic'd. I'm Joe Specter, President and General Director of Arizona Opera, and I'm so happy to have you with us today for this particular episode of UnMic'd. And the reason is because this episode, which I'm not sure anyone knows, but this episode in particular was the reason that I came up with this entire concept for this show. And the idea was born during the middle of the pandemic, and I think I was standing in the kitchen one morning, barely through half a cup of coffee, and thinking about an event that Katie and I had at our house, bringing people over, having dinner together, that fellowship that we were missing so much during the summer and fall of 2020, and reflecting on the fact that those moments, connecting through food, wine, music, all together, how special that was, first of all, and also how sort of isolated from the regular opera experience those kind of moments are. And so it was with that notion that we came up with the idea of having a program where we talk about opera and we talk about its intersection with elements that people may or may not be aware of that take place in overlapping between opera and other spaces. So in particular with food, our subject matter of today, and opera, there is so much overlap, and I'm so excited to have with us our guest for today, Beau MacMillan, a wonderful now Phoenix Metro-based chef, Scottsdale. He is at Kala Scottsdale now. He's been at Elements at Sanctuary in the past, and also, of course, a Food Network star, beat Bobby Flay in Iron Chef, all kinds of really fun stuff, and a guy who understands how food and theater connect together. Beau, it's so great to have you with us today. And our second guest, although not second place in my heart, is my wife, Kinhan-Specter, whose experience as a chef goes all the way back to being with her mom at her side, learning to cook in her kitchen, thinking of Dama right now, and who has created an unbelievable number of magical experiences for people both close to the opera and otherwise, bringing people together through food and making them feel special, and of course herself also a trained opera singer, film and television gal, and I'm just grateful to have you both with us today. Thank you so much, Beau and Kate.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, super excited to be here. Thanks, Joe, for having us on.
Feeling that New England accent right in there, Beau. Thanks so much for that.
I just got back, so it's probably going to be a lot stronger. My wife thinks I'm an imposter. It's fake.
I love it.
It got a little heavier this weekend.
Bring it on. Bring it on. That's what I say. So there was a survey done by Culture Track in which the respondents, 64% of the respondents said that they thought of food, dining, and beverage activities as cultural activities. And so I sort of wanted to start there. How do you think about food, dining, restaurant experience, or dining in the home, however you frame that? How do you think about that as an opportunity for placemaking, for bringing people together, in whatever way you interpret that? And let me hand it off to Beau first to get us started.
You know, it's such an honest question in regards to that. My true answer to that would be, I think that's pretty much all I really ever truly think about. Like, there's an opportunity every day, and through my life over the last, I'm going to say 30 some odd years in food, it's grown stronger and stronger and stronger to the point of what my goals are through food for the day, and how it includes people and how it brings people together, and what are we celebrating and what is the goal for that type of stuff. So when you look at it, it's, it could be as simple as a dinner service in your restaurant and really preparing a team to execute a service. And maybe it's a holiday service, or it could be, it's my mom's birthday this week and we have to plan. And that's really in a nutshell, like how deep it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency to talk too long about it, but I think like my whole life has been about the opportunities to please and to give.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to food, there's no stronger emotional connection you can make really to
Mm-hmm.
start with people in life than that act of giving or sharing or preparing and all of that. So it's my first language.
And your passion for it comes through, Beau. And there's sort of a vulnerability to sitting and dining with someone. There's a sort of a trust that people need to feel, whether they're in your home or in a restaurant where, you're doing this really primal thing, eating together, and it inherently is a bonding experience. Kate, I am the beneficiary of your beautiful cooking on a daily basis, so I know a lot about this from your side, but for the benefit of the UnMic'd audience, how do you think about food and cooking as a social experience of bringing people together?
To be experiencing sort of the euphoria that food can give us,
Mm-hmm.
and how that bonds us and brings us together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's sort of always been my approach for how I cook for the opera.
Mm-hmm.
When I cook for the opera, I think about, I want it to be like a hug.
Oh man,
From
love,
us.
euphoria, hug. Man, these are such powerful emotional words, and it rings true. It rings true. But what both of you have said, and I think as it pertains to a theatrical experience, you're both, when you're cooking, especially when you're entertaining in a restaurant, a private dining experience, either in a restaurant or in the home. You're thinking about a theatrical arc, right? You're leading from the moment they come into the house, your guests, to the moment they have their first amuse-bouche or whatever the kickoff is, all the way through to the end when you're giving folks a hug and sending them on their way out the door. What are the elements that you think about? No pun intended, Beau. Sorry about that. What are the elements that you think about in terms of the structure of an evening, whether that's at a restaurant or just in the course of an individual meal, that you have to put together to reach that euphoric, loving, hugging climax again?
Well, there's so many moving parts to that whole situation, mm-hmm. right? And it really, for me, comes down to people. When you look at food and hearing what you're saying, it's like there's the ability to connect, and thinking is a major portion of the preparation that leads to the experience. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really that good at that. Feeling mm-hmm. is the natural ability for the experience of what you want to showcase, right? And how you want to reach people. And mm-hmm. so you've got to master, I think, a little of both. You've got to put that in. I mean, food needs math and science, but it also needs art and sensibilities. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think I tend to really just try to, be selfless. I think I think the goal would be to make it about the guests. I think understanding what you're celebrating. Mm-hmm. I think that one is creating the environment that could be through vibe, right? You want to have, the right music. You want to pair. I always think about what wines we want to have for this evening. I always think about what the lighting should be like. I want to know what the sound's going to be like. I want to understand how casual it should be, or should it be a little more formal mm-hmm. and a little more upscale. I really I try to think about every detail because I want to be covered. You said it. I think when people come in and they allow themselves to be vulnerable, mm-hmm. the thing that you're trying to do is to take away that vulnerability and create the safe space and that common table mm-hmm. where people open up.
There's a,
they can share.
They want to feel like they're hugged. There's like a trust.
It's the learning environment.
Yeah. Man, that's it. And then when they feel that environment is loving and a trusting environment, and the vibe is there. Everything just melts away, and that opportunity for enjoyment. And I'm just going to keep coming back to that word, Kate, that you shared a moment ago, euphoria. That opens up.
There's a story in every bite.
The story in every bite.
Or in the opera, the song and the sound. That's an opportunity, and I think that one is not to get off track, but think about in life nowadays how many people might be distracted from their own emotions or distracted because of the high pressures there are just in the daily life. And you don't take time. You don't have that time to really understand that, sitting down at the table with others and breaking bread is one of the most primal things that you can do in life. It's been passed down over traditions and years and years and years. And I don't want to see that be lost upon us. I think that it's even pre-pandemic when you talked about food and you look at the evolution of food through restaurants, I think communal dining had this big comeback, and it was almost apexing where you could go to restaurants and sit at tables together, and food was being more set up to come in with large groups and pass and share. And I just hope that really continues. I think I've met some of the greatest people in my lives by saying hello and offering something, a glass of wine, a snack, a charcuterie and cheese, an appetizer, those type of things.
Yeah, there's so much there. You talked about the selflessness and that gesture, and even though in this moment of time, what we're experiencing in the cultural space, and I include dining in restaurants in that category, reflecting on that LaPlaca Cohen Culture Track survey, I think even though the tendencies of people have changed over the last 2.5 years, what we've seen is, I think, still people gravitating very powerfully towards experiences where they can feel that sort of that kind of primal connection, even if they're doing it in different ways than they did before. Even when you think about streaming, people are still wanting to talk about an episode of, Game of Thrones or something like that, or House of the Dragon, I guess. That there's still that desire to connect, and so I don't think it is going to go away. I think people's need for connection through some medium is maybe even increasing over time. It's shifting directions energetically somehow. Katie Bug, how do you think of, in the course of an evening, however you want to frame this, what are those elements that you're sort of stitching together to put together that trusting, loving, primal, euphoric experience? I'm just going to keep layering all these great adjectives that you guys have given me.
Well, they come to me in different ways. Beau, when we first got here, we put on a party, and I called it was basically a pig party type of thing. It was like bird cages and butterflies. And I had dreamt of this party while we were still in Austin, and I had created the menu. And Joey said to me, "No, save that for we're going to use it later, save it." And we came and we did it here. And so that came to me in like a dreamscape, like, literally like a dreamscape, that experience. And we let butterflies go in the dinner party, and the children were young still, so they were reading poetry, and I didn't know how to hire a staff, so I had my friends help me with serving and stuff like that. My Miss BW from Cochise came with her husband and her kids, and they helped me in the kitchen. And then other times will be like, if it's a party for the board and the staff and a cast, it's going to be more of a free-for-all where the kids will be outside coloring with chalk, and people will, come in and see us that way and just come into our home in a very organic way. And I'll have things like Beau, like family stuff. Like I'll have Nana Dot's chowder, and the way she did it, which
Nice.
was not a thick chowder. She did not do a thick chowder,
Right.
and and we'll have, maybe her chocolate cream pie that the girls know how to make.
Yeah.
But it'll be for 80 people. So that's an experience of where people will be coming into a family home and experiencing a very organic family home thing. And then for other events that we've done, I'll have like something specific where like think it's going to be French music. We're going to sing French music, Joey, and we're going to make a bistro in our living room.
Yeah.
And I want to be singing on top of whatever's happening in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I want clanging and banging in the kitchen, and I want us singing arias in the front, and the girls will have to sing arias and blah, blah, blah. And maybe there'll be a ballet with some dolls. So, and they'll sit through that, but they'll love it because they'll be eating this really beautiful food.
Yeah.
So it's an experience like that. Or I'll decide, like my brother-in-law and sister, they live on the Oregon coast, and they get their beef from a neighbor. And so I'll be like, well, Mark, don't you think that we need to feature your neighbor's beef at a party? Like, shouldn't a party just be about your neighbor's beef? And he'll be like, yeah, we need to do that. So Mark will come with his truck and a bunch of frozen, whatever it is, chickens and whatever they get from their Oregon coast friends and their wine.
Yeah.
And we'll do like a tour to Pacific Northwest. And it's just me in my kitchen. And it's in my crock pots, and it's fun, but
it's super harder to pull off than it would be. And I feel like I look at it and go like, okay, most of the stuff that I really do, I have an army behind me to execute. Like for a food and wine festival that we put together at Sanctuary, and I think of all these fun events, I'm like, it's a little different when you're at home planning this and you have to put everything into it, but it's aspiring. And, truthfully, hearing you speak about that and talk about that, one of the things that I love is ultimately just the ability to stretch your information as far as it possibly can go, and then build that bridge right back as far out through anything, through the power of your own imagination and the willingness to create, right, that you have, and then putting one foot in front of the other, and I love that. I love that. I think, for us, I remember taking the job with Chuck Wiley when we opened up the hotel, and he said, "Beau, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single footstep." It just always just really meant, with the ability to want, with the desire, you can really do anything. And some of those events, when you put them out in space, if I look back and I say, wow, I think about that, I hosted an event called Master of Taste at Sanctuary. Kurt Russell was the honorary winemaker. He has a winery out of, near Santa Barbara area where he makes 5 different wines. And Kurt's a wonderful actor, obviously, 30 years in the business and accolades beyond. But what I didn't know about Kurt is how passionate he is about wine. I mean, it's a big passion for him. And so we said, what do we do to honor him at Master of Taste for Nirvana? The cool thing was, most of your wine dinners, you come out and you have a chef and he talks about the course and the guy talks about the wine and boom, 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 and it's on. And so we brought in 5 chefs from around the country, but I said, no, you have to create a dish and then explain why you made that dish that was inspired by one of Kurt Russell's movies. And those little things that then come out, go. And I think that those are the things that you said. It's like really the fun. So many people want to be involved. No one really knows the work that you may go through to do it, but they walk away going like, man, that was like one of the best times of my life. And when I think of those experiences, and it's got to be the same, like I mentioned, my wife has been begging me she wants to go to an opera so bad. She wants to go to the Met one day, and she wants to go here and there. And I'm like, I have to fulfill those. This is something that I want to do. But when you think of that, and when I think about the food experience inside, something that to me in this life, even in doing it, the hard work is the planning and the preparation in itself. When it really comes down to it, when you have the best ingredients, and I find that sometimes it's the simplicity, right? It's like a beautiful pasta dish, like maybe is like a beautiful, a beautiful opera where it's almost so simplistic that it's perfection and beauty, And those are the things that I think that I just think that when you put that out there and have that imagination and put that work in, what you can create are friendships with people that will last forever. I don't remember much. There's a lot of blank tape when it comes to, like, you mentioned Iron Chef. That was a blur to me, with Bobby. Right. But if you said, Beau, remember when we were in New York 17 years ago and we went to Union Pacific and Rocco Spirit was there that night, whatever, I can tell you what you ate. I can tell you what I ate. You
remember that one oyster that just really was the perfect oyster. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and really what that meant and how it just humbled me, and how it was just, or it spoke to me, or it inspired me, or, all of those things. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I encourage it. I agree with you. I don't want to see it. I think it's a natural gift. We look at this and you think, people ask me so much, well, I'm not a good cook. I'm not a good cook. Well, I'm not a good pilot, but if I got on a plane and took lessons and flew for 10 years, I'd be a good pilot. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to believe in yourself. Right. You got to want to do that type of stuff, because it's, you have the ability, you have your sensory levels, you have all of God's gifts right here. It's just, you got to get in touch with them.
Our stage director for the opera we're doing this season, Ariadne of Naxos, Chuck Hudson, says that the key to entertainment is organization, or some variation of that. And I think what I'm hearing, Beau and Kate, is, you have this, you have to have plans. You have to have a framework that you're operating on, whether it's Kate, you and the girls cooking in the kitchen with your friends, or Beau, you backed by an army of sous chefs. You have to have a structure that you're operating from, and then you need to fill that space with this selflessness, with this passion, with this, creativity, and you need to do it from an authentic place when you are the chef of the home and the chef at a restaurant, because I think people sense it when that authenticity isn't there, when it's not coming, right from this spot. So pivoting to kind of our last topic today, I mean, we've talked about these adjectives and these concepts that could just as easily have been about planning an opera season, organization, selflessness, this team of people that are just pouring themselves into this work, and the same is true certainly at Arizona Opera. We have all of these members of our cast and creative team, our staff, our board, people that just every day are filling that sort of vessel with themselves, and that's what comes across in a performance. If you were in my chair and you were the general director of Arizona Opera this very afternoon, how would you take these ideas about entertainment, about connection, even from outside of your experience as a cook, as a chef? How would you run an opera company tomorrow? What would you bring from the space of entertainment and dining to help create that immersion and that feeling of connection, that passion, that euphoria that might be the same or might be different from what we're doing today in the opera industry? And I'll give that one to Katie first.
Thank you.
Give you some time to think, Beau.
I know, that's a big one, especially that he's throwing it at me. I would have to say, first of all, Joey, I'd have to say, I don't think I'd change anything that you're doing. What you're doing is
checks in the
awesome.
mail.
Yeah. So, but I think that that, the experience of bringing people in and continuing to, create an environment where all peoples feel welcome, and so that we can continue to, wrap our arms around our entire community and grow our opera family is really important. And I think that's, part of our, personal mission for, what we want for Arizona Opera, and especially the fact that we serve the state of Arizona Opera. It's a big thing to get your arms around. So, I think just continuing to the way food wraps its arms around lots of communities, just continue to do that and do it with a full heart. Just go for it. Go for it. Just keep going for it, Joe.
Just keep going for it. Okay.
Just keep going for it.
Beau, I've got to call out the New England Patriots cap there. People connect through art and culture. They connect through sports. For any of those experiences. And, if you haven't been to a lot of opera, if you haven't been to Arizona Opera performance, maybe just reframing this a little bit, walking in that door the first day, what is it that you'd want to feel maybe? How would you, taking Kate's idea there about that big hug, if you haven't been part of it before, maybe it's kind of something that you're a little bit worried about. Am I able to wear this sweatshirt? Is Joe okay with the New England Patriots? Breaking down that barrier, what would feel like that hug to you, like first time walking in the door?
I mean, that's such a great question. And Kate and I were talking beforehand, and I to let you in on a little secret, it's on a bucket list for me to come. And I know, I met my beautiful wife here, and I live for experiences. I'm one of those guys that I still love to drive and travel, and nothing excites me than taking a new route and going somewhere I've never been before. So if you look at the opera through my eyes and you say, Beau, you've never been here, there's a slight amount of intimidation. There's a little vulnerability, right? And partly my first question was, do people wear tuxedos and gowns? Like that was like, what is the proper attire? And this is all perception related for the eyes of other people, right? I mean, that's what people, I think that kind of messaging and looking at that out there of making people feel comfortable will just happen. I can tell you this, that if I went to an opera today, tomorrow, and there was a lineup, right, and they evoked seasonality, or there was comedy in opera, there was drama, there was sadness, it was all compiled into one. I may not even understand the story through the show unless it was prefaced to me, but I would appreciate the art and the beauty. And I mean, and I'm getting older. I have 5 children. I sometimes hear a beautiful song on the radio and I'm like, am I going to cry right now? What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, what is happening? Because it can be so touching. And, in different levels, and I don't want to sound kind of pedestrian itself, but there was lyrics that as in my youth that really could, you'd go, is this person singing about you? Now sometimes it's just tone. It's just the highs and the lows and things like that. To sit back and appreciate that raw talent at its most purest form for me, I don't know if I could handle it. I mean, my wife would love every second of it, but I'd be probably a mess, and I hate to admit it.
That's great. I love it.
I think it would really touch me.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I love that you shared all of that, and that's vulnerable to be able to articulate that, and think about how much work we have to do if someone who has created a career's worth of these elevated eating experiences, there's this kind of hesitation. Am I going to do it right? I promise there is no way to do opera wrong. And, to tie off with Kate's comment, this is about welcoming. And I think if we obsess, and maybe that's it, we obsess about how we can open our hearts, open our arms for people, in what is the complete list of ways in which we can make people feel welcome to try it, whether you know anything about the show the first time or not, and just leave the people that come to us feeling welcome and open to an emotional experience that is okay, whether you love it, you hate it, you cry, you laugh, because when you're in that shared experience, whether it's at a dining table or in a theater, that's what makes us feel like we're together. We take that first bite, that first oyster, that first bite of a beautiful New York strip or what have you, and that collective sigh that we experience together, how special that is. Well, thank you both, Beau and Kate, for joining us. I'm sorry, I'm just beaming through this whole episode of UnMic'd because of how personal this is for me, and I think how primal the topic of food and opera go together. Thank you both, Beau and Kate, for being here today. I couldn't be more happy to spend this time with you, and thank you for sharing all these thoughts that I really think we can take to the opera and figure out how to open our hearts more for new people. It means so much to me.
I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait to come, and I'm really, I got to tell you, like I said, keep doing what you're doing because it's a special place in this community, and it really provides something that is that is a lifetime of work and a lifetime in centuries old, and it's preserved here for our community, and it's beautiful. So
thank you.
I was honored to be here. I was honored to be here.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Beau. And we're really excited to come out to your new spot. So yeah, definitely we want to come out to your new spot and tell us a little bit about how that can be a part of our life and
let's get some opera in there.
Sit down and break bread with you.
Very good.
Yeah, we want to come out there for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you both. Thank you, Kate. Great to have you on UnMic'd. Thank you so much.